Hey, I'm making a Barotrauma video, and yes, I am using text-to-speech since the combination of being sick for 3 weeks, my $8 microphone, and my inexperience with audio and mixing makes my voice something you don't want to listen to for 11 minutes. Just listen to me trying to say booty plundered captain.
Booty. Booty. Booty.
Now with the intro done, let's start. For realsies, it's the art of thievery and thuggery, and it's time for Chapter 1.
And now,
Chapter 1, The Basics. The basis is you steal the red items from lockers and shelves and cabinets and don't get caught. If you do, you aren't a thief anymore. You're just a looter. And that makes you a basic bitch. I call it an art because any goon can blast everyone and loot the outpost. What makes it an art is the fact that you don't lose any reputation with the factions you're stealing/thugging from. Chapter 2, Sightlines. Before the winter update, NPCs could not see through windows and thievery was much easier.
Look at this shit!
But the developers thought that all the incredibly lucrative and powerful resources you got from cleaning out everything was making players too strong. That's just my personal theory anyway. Before the winter update, as long as there was a room between you and an NPC they could not see you steal, even if both doors were opened. Not anymore. Now the rule is, if they can see you, you get caught. Yes, from over 30 feet away in 2 rooms over you can get caught.
This is garbage! Garbage!
Chapter 3, Targets. There are several rooms and layouts that can help, hurt, or outright prevent thievery due to being a wide open space or having merchants permanently sitting in one spot. Previously you could drag people away from these areas to steal from them, but now they stop letting you move them after a few seconds, and merchants can't be grabbed at all. So if there's an item you need to interact with and a merchant is standing within 3 feet of it, eat shit. Shelves and cabinets are the most common sources of loot to grab, with diving suits being the holy grail, the #1 treasure of every outpost, turning into the valuable titanium aluminum alloy, an ingredient in many badass recipes. The oxygen tanks underneath the suits are a secondary prize, deconstructing into aluminum so you can start getting better quality tanks yourself and increase your mechanical skill, which you will need plenty of as a thief. Chapter 4, Security Officers. If sightlines and loot are your bread and butter, then security is your piss and Cheerios. Much like the people who lock in the security job, security officers will stop at nothing to ruin your good time and mercilessly beat and handcuff you. The other danger security has to offer is random inspections. Added in the winter update, security will sometimes stop you to check for stolen goods. If you have stolen stuff on you, you must drop it or they will mercilessly beat and handcuff you. Oddly enough, even if you get caught there's no reputation loss. This will probably be changed later, so enjoy it while you can. Even though it should be random, there is a way to trigger an inspection at any time. If you wear or hold a stolen item they will immediately sprint at you declaring a random inspection. Even though it seems dire you can still run away from them with no consequence, and if you can make it into your sub you win. Chapter 5, Flooding Strategy. You've got an objective and an opportunity. Now you've got to know how to turn tricks. As in, turn yourself into a master of tricks. You're gonna need a plasma cutter and a welding tool. In fact, as a thief you should always have these tools on hand. They are your life. A thief's tools are his life, and just like life you need oxygen and welding rods. Don't mix the two up. Nothing is real but pain. Is there loot in the cabinet by the reactor but you can't move the merchant? Does it make you want to fucking die? The answer is simple, make them want to leave the room by making a hole in the room from outside. Swim outside and make a hole at an angle so no one will see you when the wall breaks, and the water will make everybody leave. Unfortunately you won't have forever, an engineer will be sprinting as soon as a leak is reported and will fix the hole you made. But as long as everyone is gone you can break the wall down again until you loot everything. This strategy works on a bunch of rooms, so play around with it. Chapter 6, The Crate. Much like people, crates come in two varieties, big and loose, and small and tight. The common metal crate is a boon for thievery, giving a generous 20 spaces for illicit goods, but it's got an old plastic Tupperware for a lid so water can get in. On the small and tight side are the medical, explosive, and chemical crates. Functionally they're exactly the same, they only give 12 spaces but won't cause sodium to detonate in your hands if you decide to take your loot the wet way. Speaking of the wet way. Chapter 7, Escape with the Goods. So you've got your crate full of shit, your inventory's full of shit, and you gotta book it or you'll lose your shit. The basic approach is to run back to the sub. In most cases you can outrun the guard and get to bank it all, but there are two items that will be harder to do this with. Tool belts and diving suits, both for the same reason. You can't put them in crates, you gotta wear them, and if a guard is between you and the sub, it's game over. This is where the wet way comes in. Cut a hole to the outside and drag your loot back to the sub from the hole. There's no downside to doing it this way besides the cutting time. What I mean is, the blast of water pressure could delay you long enough for people to show up and call the guard to inspect you. Once you're outside there's no windows and the hatch at the bottom leads directly to your sub, guaranteeing a loot get. And that's all I have to say on the art of thievery. Now for the nasty part, the art of thuggery. Much like the art of thievery, it's an art because you lose no reputation by doing any of these actions. Chapter 8, Killing every security officer. You can theoretically kill every person on the station with no rep loss, but let's start with the piss and Cheerios. You need to find a stolen object and put on your diving suit, put the stolen item in your hand, then walk out to where guards usually patrol and keep a lookout. They'll see you from far away, farther than they should be able to. As soon as you see one sprinting, book it back to the sub, but make sure they can still see you go in or they might lose you. Then walk to a corner of the first platform to make sure they don't stand on the ladder to search you. Once they start, hit the button on your side to open the door, then quickly open the other side. They should stay in place for a bit, but if you're worried they might escape, hit that H button and drag them into the depths until they pop. Chapter 8b, Killing every hostile security officer. You can use a similar tactic to kill every hostile security officer, and it's actually much easier. Equip your diving suit and hang out around your sub until an officer sees you and threatens you. The brave officers will then follow you all the way to the sub chute, waiting for you to leave. Once all officers are there, weld the door completely shut. It's okay, they'll wait for you. When you're done, open the hatch and watch them explode. You can now explore the outpost with no one shooting at you. Unfortunately this doesn't work with every ship, some of them don't have a floodable top, so check to see if you can flood the room the chute connects to before banking on this tactic. Chapter 10, Sabotaging the Outpost. Every outpost has several pumps scattered around it, but if you're new you might not know that these pumps are not actually automatic, they are dependent on the water sensors next to them. Just turn all those sensors to 0 and the pumps will never turn on. If there are unstolen diving suits in the outpost, the engineers will put them on to fix any holes you put in the outpost. That's all you can do to prepare. I know it's not as funny as placing 5 detonators with C4 scattered around key points, and wiring them all together with a Wi-Fi and regex component, wired like this, with these instructions, to level an outpost with a single case-insensitive funny word of power of your choosing. But that requires a lot of resources better suited to fighting giant monsters. Final chapter, Killing everyone. Now that the water can't go anywhere, it's time to swim outside the outpost and start making some holes. Remember, place yourself in a blind spot or you'll lose rep. If you start on one side, the people will run to the unflooded side. Once you start putting holes where people are, they will eventually run out of places to hide and will all start exploding or dying of organ failure. You will suffer no reputation loss and can take anything you want. Isn't this great? Isn't this what the devs wanted? Making stealing harder so I have to flood every room on the outpost just to get some fertilizer and diving suits? Don't call it a grave, it's the future you chose. Well, that's everything I can say. I hope you enjoyed the video. It took more work than I want to do again anytime soon. The winter update added some annoyances, but it fixed a lot of issues too, so I call it a good update. I mean, at least it didn't do something stupid like luck-based equipment upgrades in a survival sim. That would be ridiculous.
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh shit,